Good evening and welcome along to tonight's podcast with Dark Devices co-director Fraser McGowan, and I'll introduce Fraser in a couple of minutes. I'll just give people time to join the podcast tonight, and I'll go through a little trigger warning. Tonight we're obviously going to be talking about the movie Dark Devices, and a lot of the stories from Dark Devices, as you'll hear, are from people of lived experience or background of at least. So we will be going into subjects of surrounding maybe ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, or other trauma or mental health or addiction. So just in case that you are triggered, I like to do a grounding technique myself, and that's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. And that involves if you are triggered or you do feel nervous or anxious while watching or listening to the podcast tonight, then please come away from your screen and maybe open a window and stand next to that. But you look for 5 things you can see, 4 things around you you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and one I like to put in one good thing about yourself, one strong characteristic about yourself. Hopefully that will help ground you. If not, I do have a couple of helpline numbers, and the first one of those is Samaritans, and that's 116 123. And the other one is breathing space, which is 0800 83 85 87. It's really important that if you are triggered to try the grounding techniques or come away from the screen. But if you are, please get in touch with myself or any of the admin that work away in the background. And yeah, so tonight we're here to discuss the Dark Devices movie and to meet co-director of that very movie, Mr. Fraser McGowan. Fraser, welcome to tonight's podcast.
Good to be here. No, thanks for having me. Well, this is, last night we had a bit of a conversation. I think it's such a great thing you're doing. It's such a, with the podcasts, it's dealing with all these forms of people that are in recovery, things like that. You're getting people to talk, and I think it's such a special thing, and it's such an amazing thing that you're doing. So I'm honored to be here tonight as the guest. So yeah.
Oh, thank you, Fraser. I really appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, in my short time recovery, we're not here to talk about that tonight, obviously, but in that short time, I quickly realised that what helped me was talking about any issues, whether it be from childhood or from addiction or mental health. In fact, just talking about that takes away a lot of that power, and surrounding yourself with good people as well, of course, and changing habits, etc. But yeah, it really is a talking cure in a way about any of these issues surrounding addiction, mental health, anything like that. You talk about it, it takes away that power that it has over you. And because it is, we are going to be talking about certain topics tonight when we're discussing the movie Dark Devices that involves certain subjects like adverse childhood experiences, for example, or addiction or mental health, whatever it is. And it's pays to be cautious with the public watching. So yeah, thank you so much for that, Fraser. It's really appreciated, mate. And thank you so much for coming on in the first of a triple bill podcast from Dark Devices of yourself tonight, and then next week it's Chris Moffat, and then next again we have Cressida Jensen. So we're really looking forward to that. But first and foremost, let's get started with tonight's podcast. Like you say, Chris, me and you chatted last night for about 3/4 of an hour, and it was a good chat, but we had to sort of cut it short because me, like the public watching it tonight, I like to know the things as I'm asking the questions or as it happens, like the viewing public. So
Mhm.
I didn't like to know too much as before we go into a podcast with any of my guests. And I was thinking about before I started this podcast last night, I was talking to you about it. I've roughly done about 45 to 50 podcasts in the 2.5 years, So I'm quite relaxed about doing the podcasts. But tonight it's an extra special podcast because it is for the Dark Devices movie, an amazing movie that's being made at the moment by co-director and writer Kerry Clifton, who I'm hoping is in the comments tonight, and I'm sure she will be,
Sure,
and I
sure.
hope she's shared. Yeah. And so that's it's important to say that first and foremost. That's what's brought us together here tonight was the connection we made through the Dark Devices movie, which we'll talk about in depth in the time ahead. So could you tell me, I'll go back a little bit first, we'll get to know you a little bit better, please, Fraser. Where are you from? Where did you grow up about? And
So I always tell people I'm from Lockerbie, which it isn't quite Lockerbie. I usually go there because people know Lockerbie more than Lochmaben, but I'm from a little village 4 miles from Lockerbie called Lochmaben. It's right on the border, like you were saying last night. It's about 25 miles from Carlisle, so I'm a bit out of Edinburgh. But recently, obviously, I've been debating moving into the city because I've had studies there, and the things like that. But yeah, I've been, I'm still young, so I'm still new to the whole film industry and things like that. So yeah, no, I'm from the border. I live with my mum still. So I'm 21. 21.
You're still a pup, mate. You're still a
that,
young one.
that's it. So I'm with
Your
my,
whole life ahead of you.
like, see, a few years ago, it's my mum and dad. They split up, but they're both so supportive, and I'm thankful for that with the whole filming and that. So yeah, I'm from the border. But people seem to think I'm from England. I've been filming in Glasgow recently. They don't think I'm Scottish. And I don't know if it's the
Oh,
but
you're clearly Scottish. We can hear your accent clearly, mate. It's very proper. It's like what I try to be when I'm on screen. It's very clear. So I like that. So tell us about your childhood. What did you like to do in your childhood, like hobbies and things like that? How did the filming come into it type thing? How did interest in all that start?
I don't know. I think it's like this for a few people. I joined drama class. I thought, at first it was like it's a bit of a skive. I used to be lazy. I was like, yeah, I'll just skive it. And eventually, like slowly, I was watching everyone else do their plays and things like that. And Peter, that was the first AC on Dark Devices, he was in the year above me at school, so we went to the same school together. And I remember sitting in class one day, and he came out and he done. I don't know if you've heard of the play 1984, George Orwell.
Yep, definitely, yeah.
It's quite heavy. It's got like your torture and all that in it. And I sat back and I thought, yeah, I'll just another Sky because I got out of the class to watch this, and I thought, yeah, this is good going. And then he brought this performance out, and it totally inspired me, and I totally saw in that moment how performance can really captivate people and tell people's stories. And for me, a big thing was like I like up until recently I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. Got to 18, 19, I was like, okay, I need to figure something out. And then at first I got into the acting because acting sort of lets you step into other people's shoes a little bit, which I find really interesting. So
Definitely. Role play, especially obviously if you're an actor, isn't it?
yeah, and you'll delve into these characters and you live these experiences just for the briefest moment that you would never have before. And for someone that's struggling to pick a career path, that really stuck out to me. I'm like, well, I could be a rugby player for a day if I buffed up a little bit and stuff like that. But yeah, it was first the acting, and then obviously slowly I started to, sat in class, started writing scenes and things like that, and then directing was sort of it came to me because I wanted to do the acting, but people started to ask, "Oh, do you want to direct this? Do you want to direct that? Do you want help with this?" So I eventually got into directing and absolutely love it now. And yeah, it was last year that I thought, I'd done a few projects here and there, and I thought, okay, I'm going to step up, and I actually produced Cherry Red. I don't know if you've heard of Cherry Red.
I have heard of it. I've not seen it. Obviously, it's not out yet, is it? Tell us a
No,
little bit about Cherry Red.
it's been
Is this
stuck.
your first movie that you've directed then and written?
So I directed and acted before, but it's the first one that was like properly my film with the producing. I thought I'm going to step up and make this exactly what I want to do with it. So I produced that, and it's around 10 to 15 minutes the film. So it is, and yeah, I'm very proud of it. It technically is one of the first releases that I'll have coming out. And then a few months after that, Kerry reached out to me, obviously from Dark Devices, and asked if I wanted to direct that. Which I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky that happened to me because it's such an honor to, we'll delve into that a bit later with Dark Devices.
Definitely.
Such an honor to bring that story to life. It's so special to me. I'm so glad Kerry reached out. So yeah.
So it started in high school with one of your older friends, seeing them putting a performance. So did you go to drama school and things like that after high school, or did you
Yeah,
go right
so
into?
I went into acting out. It's an acting class. It goes through Trinity College, London, and it's in Edinburgh. So I thought, okay, I'll try this because at first it was a part-time online course, and obviously me being from the border, it's a bit of a travel. It's about 75 miles. So I thought I'll do that at first to see what it's like, and then we had some classes every odd month or so. And I just recently finished the course for that. I'm doing the exam next year for the acting, so I'm still not technically graduated yet, but but I'm hanging in there.
So how long does that take in total then to do the exam, etc.?
So the course was only a year, and I was meant to finish it last month actually, but with Dark Devices and all this coming up as well, I thought I didn't quite have the time to sit the exam and fully commit to it. So I spoke to the head office, obviously, and they were very understanding. So they've pushed that to next year for the exam. So
Brilliant.
I'm grateful for that. But yeah, it took a lot of time, and that was when we were doing Dark Devices because we started filming it in May, and then the exam was June, and I thought, there's no way I'm going to get this done, and I want to commit to Dark Devices because, like I said, it's such a big opportunity that just it seemed to sort of just be given to me, and so grateful for it.
It
So
really is, and it came along at the perfect time. Obviously, by the sounds of it, you were just stepping foot into the filming and world and all of that. You'd done a few bits and pieces in it. You'd created Cherry Red, for example. I mean,
mm,
that was a short film, but I know the work that goes into a lot of even short films like that is huge. The time it takes and the retakes, etc., etc.
no, it's a big team effort. I used to think, and even a lot of the audience, they won't know how much work goes into it, obviously, and the director gets a lot of credit, but going back to like Kerry, producer and writer, she's done an immense amount of work on the film to make it happen. And you've got
So,
your.
what tell us about that? How you first came across Kerry, obviously, to do with the Dark Devices movies. How did that happen?
I'm sure at first I reached out to her interested as an actor. I think it was at the moment where she was. I don't think they were. I don't think it was the casting stage, but they started to announce things about the story. So I got interested as an actor, and I think I reached out to her, and I think it was just a Facebook Messenger. I just went, "I'm going direct," and I
Quite
messaged her.
right. If you don't ask, you don't get, Fraser,
That's
at
it.
all. That's what I've been told.
That's
Sorry,
true.
I need to apologise. Sorry at the moment for the viewers watching. Unfortunately, for some reason, StreamYard doesn't let me post the comments up on the screen. I can see them on my phone, so if time by time I'll try and look down at my phone, but I don't want to appear rude to Fraser because I'm enjoying my conversations that we've had so far. So just in case people are wondering why there's no comments or questions coming up, Fraser, that's why. Willie, technical issues strikes again with the technical issues, so
It happens.
never mind. Never mind, mate. We'll go with it anyway. So yeah, so you got in touch with Kerry or vice versa. It doesn't really matter. That's fate. The way I look at it, it came along at the right time for both of the views. And so tell me, how did that go initially? How did you?
So she messaged me if I was interested because she was looking for a director at this point. I think it was in the midst of, is it going to be a director? Is it going to be co-directed by me? And then obviously it ended up being Jay that directed the
Yeah,
film. So she messaged me and I said, yeah, I'm interested because from what I'd seen on the Facebook and things like that, the story seemed very. It was something that I hadn't done before. Like with Cherry Red, it's very like artsy, whereas this one really delves into like raw human emotion and it takes a deep dive into mental health. So that really interested me, and yeah, she emailed me the script, and I just thought it was absolutely fantastic. Um, I read it through. I mean, I'm the worst for patience. I should probably work on that a little more.
mate,
I'm
that's
the
a big word, isn't it? Patience.
oh, it takes a lot. I think that takes years to fully,
I
man.
think it does. I think you need to get to my age. Never mind 21. You need to be 51 to give yourself a break and then think, right, you should have patience by now. That's one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my short time of recovery is patience. For anything in life, you have to put in the effort, obviously, but patience is a big one in any walk of life or any way. So, yeah, I
It's a
understand that fully.
one of the hardest things to get to grips with patience. And then for me as well, I've got a bad attention span, so I can get bored within like 2 minutes. And then when Kerry sent me the script, I thought, okay, I'll give it a read, and I read the whole thing in about half an hour. I loved it that much. It's one of these stories that it's so smartly written. There's so many plot twists in it. It makes you really think, and you think and think and think till you get to the end. You're like, oh, finished it. And
Mate, there's still things I'm finding out now that we'll not disclose, obviously, but that it surprises me because I would never have even thought of that. You know what I mean? And Kerry is an amazing writer, isn't she? To have written that, and
yeah,
it really is captivates you for the very first paragraph.
it does exactly. And after that, I just confirmed 100% I wanted to do it. So I got back to her and I said, absolutely love the script when we starting. I had to wait a few
Yeah,
months.
aye.
The patience
So
thing, man, I was sitting there and I was like, oh, when are we starting?
yeah, the impatience kicks right in then, mate. I mean,
Yeah.
just before we go on and talk about the dark devices, how do you deal with that as an actor? And like you'll have periods of time where you've got maybe two or three projects on the go, and you're busy for a couple of months. But then you'll maybe have, I don't know, maybe periods of time where you're not so busy. How do you cope with that yourself personally?
It's a stressful thing. Like you said, that I've had times where I've had to turn projects down because I'm doing so much in a month, and then after that, you might not hear back for another 3 months, and you might be doing nothing. So for me, I mean, I've got a part-time job, so I do the job as well just to support yourself financially, because it's one of the things, again, you could, like what we're saying, if you go 3 months without any jobs, you'll have no pay. So I've
Mm.
done a part-time job in the meantime, but
And
it
it
is.
must be a worry as well, because if you're an inspiring actor in the start of his career or her career, whatever, and you're trying to get job opportunities and you're not sure where the next payday's coming from, the next job's coming from, that can be really worrying, eh? That can play into your own mental health. Has that ever affected you in the past, maybe? I don't know.
Oh yeah, I've got, so sometimes people come to me and say, oh, I didn't know you had it, but I've got social anxiety. So if I'm
Mm-hmm.
around like a room full of people, it sometimes hits and it sometimes doesn't. I'm still kind of figuring it out. I do definitely have different forms of anxiety. I mean, for me, for example, which I've been learning about recently, and it was from doing Dark Devices, then obviously Strawberry Milkshake recently, another
Mm-hmm.
short film I'm doing. I've got, like, I think it's post anxiety disorder.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not diagnosed, but it's been something that's in my mind, and I'm obviously talking to people about. But like, I'll do something in a day. So, for example, take Dark Devices. We're doing block two just as we finished the film. I'd commit to it for a day, but I was so switched on, obviously, as director, being asked questions all day, that I got home and at night I'd be sleeping, but I'd be half asleep and I'd still feel like I'm in the room. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, someone's going to come in and catch me sleeping, as if like I still think I'm there because I'm so switched on all day. It's
Yeah.
such a weird thing. Like, I'll be sweating, and then I remember one morning I woke up. I remember thinking about it now. Through the night, I was so switched on about how does the set look, how is it going to look on camera, that I woke up one morning and I'd opened my cupboard and I was like, why is the cupboard open? And then I remembered, I was like, oh, that's because I thought to make it more lived in. Through the night, I thought, oh, this will look better. It's so,
It gets into your psyche, doesn't it? Obviously, by the sounds of it.
it's weird. And yeah, like going back to I do have social anxiety, and there's ways that you can help. Like what you were saying at the start there is your hotline, and obviously the message to the audience about trigger warnings and things. I do this as well, where if you can count 5 things you can see, take, like, think of what it would taste like, smell like, touch, all of those things. It helps. Um, but on Dark Devices, like, having a team around you that are really supportive helps as well. It helps tremendously.
And the team on Dark Devices were amazing from start to finish. Every single day I went in to set where I was filming or not, it was amazing to be a part of. I found myself just sitting there an awful lot, really quiet, which isn't like me to be fair, but really quiet, looking around me and seeing people like Callum Beattie and Dean Maxwell and all you guys behind the scenes. So many people go into the making of that movie, which we will get into to making any movie. So what I'll quickly do, I'm going to jump to one of the questions I had before because I can't get any of the questions up on the screen, unfortunately. So, the first question I had was, when did you? Oh wait, no, when did you get into the film industry? I've asked you that one already. How did? Right, got that. How did you meet Kerry in New York before the movie, and why did the script for this movie get your attention?
So going back to, I mean, with Cherry Red, so I kind of touched into the idea of mental health, because Cherry Red, when I started that, it was about pseudologia fantastica. So what
Mm-hmm.
that is it's about people that make things up and end up believing it. For example, to get out of tricky situations, if they've got an ego, if it's an embarrassing situation, they'll think to themselves and they'll think up this scenario and convince themselves that that's their reality, and they'll just try and discard the other one. So
Mm-hmm.
I delved into a bit with Cherry Red, but again, it was quite artsy. It was a black and white sort of narrated. It was a bit like a folklore tale we told it in. And
Right.
then with, yeah, so it's like, we got the narrator Amelie. She's brilliant. She's going to be working with me in the future. So she's a Danish actress, and she narrated the whole thing, but it is in a
Mm-hmm.
way that it's as if she's reading a book. So it's as if she's a bedtime story, sort of. It was quite an
Like a
experiment.
tale, yeah, a fairy
Yeah,
tale almost.
yeah. I'm looking forward to people seeing it when it comes out. But then for Dark Devices, going from that artsy sort of subject to delving into mental health, the alcohol abuse, the child grooming, the mental health, and the links that, the big thing for Dark Devices for me was that it wasn't just black and white, it was grey. It wasn't just you'll get scripts come through where this is the good guy, that's the bad guy, and that's it. Whereas with Dark Devices,
It's such subjects that are such taboo subjects that shouldn't be, that need to be spoken about, and that's why I do my podcast, for example. But you know what I mean, like
mhm,
ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, addiction. I know we can say, I'm very careful of what we can say, but I know we can say Lucy's mum is an alcoholic, for example, and
yeah,
and what Dark Devices has got, I would imagine, and a lot of other movies maybe lack or whatever, or maybe not. That's not the word, but is the lived experience behind it. It's all true stories. It's all real people behind it. That all the way through the movie. So, what was that like working with people with lived experience of the actual themes of the movie?
it was in a way because my one of my biggest worries going into making the film was how do you get this right? Because like you said, a lot of films they don't. It's as if they sugarcoat it sometimes, or they don't fully go into what it's actually like. Whereas Dark Devices, it shows the raw emotion in it, and working with people and being on set with people with lived experiences, it's sort of in a weird way not comforted me, but when telling the story, I was like, okay, I can chat to these people off screen. We can film this, and I can go off and I can talk to these people about it, and then I can bring that into the scene. So if you bring in real experiences in from people, it just makes the scene that much better, more believable.
And obviously, when you got actors like Robert Campbell Coombs and Katie Cool, for example,
Um,
who bring their own lived experience to the part as well, that is amazing as well. I remember doing the podcast with Robert, and Robert got into a lot of detail, obviously, about his adverse childhood experiences, which was really good and honest of him to do. Amazing to do on a public platform, you know what I mean? But it is, it's amazing to be surrounded by people like that know exactly what it takes to portray that part in the movie that they're trying to portray. Eh?
it's the amount of respect I had, especially for the likes of Robert and Katie and everyone in the film. They were all amazing. But talking again about people with the lived experiences and then the actors as well. I mean, I watched a bit of the podcast with you and Robert, and Robert's obviously gone through things like we all have.
Yeah,
And to see him on the screen just open it up and be vulnerable, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength. And watching that, I mean, I can't go too much into it. Kerry will shoot me.
yeah, I know.
But there's one scene in particular where it's really intense with Robert's character, and sometimes it'll take a lot of takes to get the right scene or the right moment where you film it again, you'll go again, cut again, again.
Hmm.
But with Robert's one scene, this intense scene, he brought the real to it. He drawn from himself, and
Yeah.
we all felt it in the room when we got that take. Like you can feel that I felt choked up, and when you feel choked up on set, you know you've got the right take.
You know, that's it. You only need one take, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
That is amazing to be able to capture that, and when an actor brings that to the movie, that's even better. Eh? Could I ask you the next question that's on my page? I've got them in the right order now, Fraser. Thankfully. What do you think about what Kerry and Sophie are doing for inclusion in the movie world? As in, there's a lot of extras, isn't there? I think there's like 46 child extras.
Mhm.
There's over 60 adult extras, for example. That's amazing for to be given that opportunity. Eh?
The fact, yeah, the amount of work again that Kerry and Sophie being only 10, 11 years old as well, the amount that she brought to how mature she was and wanting to give other people this opportunity, it's so inspiring. It's amazing. And yeah,
It was amazing to see, like, because Sophie is only so young, but she's so professional in what she does. She knows where to stand, where to go, where to turn, how to look. You know what I mean? I know that's the part of the job, but for someone so young, she
mhm,
does it extremely, extremely well. Eh? She really does. It's amazing to watch that actually, to see what goes on behind the scenes in a movie from all different angles and all that is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
yeah,
And I know that, for example, Kerry gave me this opportunity alongside two of my fellow group members of the group that I run, Don Blades and Michelle Whiteford, who appeared in the movie as well as extras, which was an amazing opportunity that we never ever I would imagine would have happened. And following on for that, then my daughter Amy was even in the movie, which
mhm,
is this is something that I'm going to be able to look back on forevermore to say I was in a movie with my daughter. Memories that are totally priceless that I never ever thought would happen. And
mhm,
that's all down to, at the time, a 9-year old girl and her beautiful mother who, let's make no mistake about it, I know Kerry will be, I can hear her in my head right now. She doesn't like praise that woman, but Kerry has put her heart and soul every single thing that she's got into this movie to
Mm-hmm.
show our daughter Sophie that what's possible with a bit of hard work and determination and long, long hours and plenty of tears. I mean, I know she'll no appreciate me saying this either. I'm no breaking any confidences, but she said I could. That me and Kerry speak quite often because we're friends. We've been friends for 2.5 years now before the movie came about or when it was in its writing process anyway. And I know how stressful this movie has been for Kerry with all the ins and outs and the funding issues because I forgot to mention, typical in myself, but this is an indie movie. And we've been, well, Kerry in particular, but we've all been raising funds for this movie right from the very beginning because it's an indie movie, which means you could clear this point up a bit better, but it means that we need to fundraise for the movie ourselves to make it happen. Every single detail of that. Could you tell us a wee bit about that? That is quite a hard process as well, isn't it?
It is, especially with indie feature film or not. There's a lot of it's one of these struggling sort of areas of film now because you've got like Netflix, your streaming service, you've got your big hitters like Disney. Disney own a lot of franchises now and corporations and production companies and all the rest of it. And indie, for all it's a struggle to make it happen. The hard work, like going back to Kerry, the amount of work she put into the film, and not only was it producing, she was like even painting sets and designing sets, and she was doing the whole shebang. And
Yeah, one woman army at times.
yeah, one woman army, which is amazing. And so again,
Yes.
Sophie, there was one day actually on set where my head was a bit all over the place, and Sophie's like, "Did you do that?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't think so."
That's what I mean. Eh?
She's like,
So
"Yeah,
professional for someone so young. But I'll tell a wee story, quick story before we move on a little bit. When I met Kerry, and I'd never, obviously never met Sophie at the time, but she had donated her pocket money to a friend who was raising money for homeless. And at 9 year old, and I seen a wee video in a world where you can be anything, be kind. And honestly, I had a lump in my throat, and I never even met Kerry at that stage or Sophie at the time. And I'm thinking, wow, that's so. I don't know what the word is. So kind for a child at that age to think about other children that are from maybe disadvantaged backgrounds or not going to have the opportunity to appear in a movie. Never ever would any. If you could probably ask the majority of the crew, the cast on Dark Devices, and they would have thought, never in your lifetime would I appear in a movie. And that's creating dreams for lifetimes for so many people. And I
yeah,
don't know if Sophie even realizes the impact that's going to have on so many different people's lives in years to come. But it's
mm,
such a kind thing for a child to think of.
yeah,
But she needed the backup of a super mum, and she had that with Kerry because it took a lot more effort, as we know, and we'll find out from that early stage of writing it or getting the writing together for it, and then all the rest of it that goes involved. So
mhm.
it is. It's a very special combination, one that I've not often heard of in the movie world. Anyway, a mother-daughter combination, and on that level.
I think that's what makes the movie that much better. And again, it deals with mental health, it deals with alcohol abuse, it deals with these human struggles. But when you look at the actual fact of how the film was made, even that's inspiring, and that alone makes the movie that much more special. Um,
There's so
again,
many layers to Dark Devices. That's the thing with it, and
mm,
because some people with lived experience are appearing in it as well, that brings more levels, more layers to it as well, and more depth to it. And then when you've got really good actors like I've touched on with Robert and Katie and Emma and so many I could name, I'm not going to even start that because if I forget somebody, then they'll have a go at me, and I can't have that. So what um. Could you tell us what does Dark Devices aim to do? But do you know what, Fraser? I'm going to rewind a wee bit. Could you tell us a little bit about what Dark Devices is about, actually, in
yeah,
your words?
okay. So from the very start of the film, you follow a young girl called Lucy, and she's from a again going back to what was relatable to me with the film was I don't come from a family of wealth and money and the rest of it. And so in this film, you're watching this little girl come from a poor background. Her mum's dealing with alcohol abuse. Um, her uncle, obviously played by Robert's got his own mental health issues. You're following this little girl through a world that's very with the struggles that our parents have got, and then obviously our uncle as well, the family. She's a very independent young girl,
That's
And
that generational trauma we talk about in recovery, and when it relates to adverse childhood experiences, in particular, when your parents are lost in addiction, whether it be to drugs or alcohol, and there's mental health issues going on, and all the rest of it that you're about to tell us. But that's the generational side of it. That's the cycle that goes through families up and down the land, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah, it's a sad, it's a sad reality, and a lot of people are dealing with it. And but yeah, you follow this young girl. Obviously, she's independent. I mean, from the very opening scene, which I won't go too much into, you can
No.
see independent, and she's got her own back in a way. But you can only get so far, and like you'll watch her travel through this story, and there's dangers. There's people that you don't trust. Obviously, as a little girl, Lucy, the main character, she doesn't see that so much or doesn't understand it so much. But
Yeah.
the audience watching, you can see all these, like these potential dangers. But she's got no choice but to just get up and get on with it. Um, but going back to again that idea of the grey area, for me, I'm hoping that the way we shot the film was that every character has their own struggle, and you can at least understand why they are the way they are. That was a big thing, and then obviously going through
Definitely.
it deals with, I mean, the biggest arc of the film is it deals with child grooming.
Yeah.
And
And let's talk a wee bit about that, because I mean that's something that is a real taboo subject, and I don't know enough about it to discuss it, but in depth or anything. But online hunters are a subject that nobody likes talking about, but they're there. They do what they do. They do what's the word I'm looking for? They do help spot these predators out there that are online and meeting our children, etc., etc. So it's an important subject that needs to be shown, and
Mhm.
that's only one subject in the movie Dark Devices that is um, a subject that's not spoken about nearly enough, is it?
No, definitely not. And going back to the whole what brought me into the film again, as well as I've had a family member deal with, in a way, grooming and manipulation, and it was a really tough time that me and the family went through. And one of the biggest things that leaped out to me again was Lucy, played by Sophie brilliantly, as it connected with me because I know what the struggle can be like. I've not been through it. I'm
Hmm. But you can relate to it, yeah.
but I can relate to it. Obviously, with a close family member of mine, should been through quite a lot with this man that it lasted about a year or two.
And
Core
it's
all.
more and more common these days, Fraser, isn't it? But obviously the internet's been out for a long time now. But most people, teenagers especially, are turning to their phones, their laptops, whatever, their iPads, whatever it is. There's dangers everywhere that children like Lucy in the movie aren't going to be aware of, because they're young, they're children, they're naive, they shouldn't be aware of the types of dangers, but they're out there. So it's
Yeah,
very important that we talk about that, and movies like Dark Devices are made for that reason as well, eh?
the internet makes it far too easy to talk to strangers. Um,
Yeah.
for adults, it can be good with going back to the film industry. You're connecting with people, um, but especially for kids, a lot of kids now. I know my nephew, for example, he's had a phone since he was 10, which
Hmm.
is, I didn't have a phone until I was what, 14, 15. Even that's still young. And it's far too easy for people to get a hold of people now. I mean, I get messages all the time. I want to delete. You get some weird stuff come through, and I can't imagine what it's like for children and women and all the rest of it.
Exactly. It's a very unsafe place, because I mean you click on a post these days and these things like cookies pop up, and that sends your information to hundreds and hundreds of companies and different places. That if that's a child that's clicking on a song or something on the internet, that's putting them in loads more danger and they don't even know it. Eh? And
Yeah,
with it being online, it's a thing that a lot of teenagers, let's be honest, can hide from their parents as well, what they're doing, because they do it in the privacy of their room a lot of the time, or out when they're out and about on their phone. And it's a hard thing to keep a hold of and to make sure your teenagers are safe and things like that, isn't it?
yeah. There's a lot of ways to bypass this sort of safety regulations as well. I mean, you've got, like your family safety and things you can put on systems, whether it be like Nintendo or Xbox or phones and things like that. You can connect it to one main hub, which could be the parent phone.
Hmm.
There's that, but then there's also ways that I know kids, my nephew knows how to do it, for example, where you can bypass it. And there's this thing called incognito mode, and it means that you can't see exactly what they're searching up, and that alone's dangerous as
Yeah,
well.
very dangerous by the sounds of it, mate, isn't it? So it's very, like I say, it is vital that movies like Dark Devices are out there and we're talking about these subjects. What was that like for you, working alongside people with lived experience of being in online hunting gangs and things like that?
What I found, especially just from the working side of it alone, showing up to direct, was I came onto set, and some projects you'll have to sit and you'll talk and talk and talk about things to get this understanding. But people with lived experiences, they already know what that's like, and then and in fact they end up teaching you things about it. Me as the director, that I
Hmm.
can apply to the set and to the screen. But they come in with such understanding of it, and such a vulnerability that they can just open up, especially with people with the lived experiences on Dark Devices. At least they had this ability to just open up and feel, like fully talk about it, which that helps too. It's transparency on a set. That's just talking from a working side of it.
Yeah.
But from a personal side of it, there's a lot to learn from people with lived
It
experiences.
also brings that real life to the scene, doesn't it? Like we've
Oh, yeah.
touched on already. I mean, if people can draw on their own experiences to portray an emotion, for example, or do
Mhm.
a certain scene, then if they can draw on their own experiences, then it's going to be more powerful, isn't it? So, it must be great to be a part of. So, tell us a little bit more. So, it's a story about the online hunting gangs trying to groom Lucy and the dangers that come from that.
Mhm.
And what's a little bit more of the background of it?
So you'll end up in the film meeting these hunters, which are the online. They organize the stings, and a big thing in this film we wanted to show, because you'll see on like your Facebook lives and things, people that do the stings and they catch the predators. There's a lot of there's a line there, and it's easy to step over it. You'll see a lot of
Yeah,
people quite violent with it, with their confrontations and things. But
yeah,
in the film, when you meet these hunters, they go about it very statistically and correct. So your leader of the hunters, James, he keeps a level head, and part of obviously there's a little bit of drama in the film, so the intensity parts of it come from, is he going to keep himself contained and relaxed enough to do this job? Because yeah, going back to Facebook Lives, I've seen a few interactions where they do get like grabby, and like, and
hmm.
the police can end up
And then
prosecuting.
that just means the case falls apart. But the ones that are out there doing it properly, I mean, but it's thankfully they are. To be honest, I'm not saying I condone anything, any violence, of course not. But anything that keeps our children safe, come on, it must be a good way. Although there has to be guidelines, and I mean, I know, for example, what I'm getting at really is that the people that have worked on the movie, they put in hours and hours looking into these people before they go on and confront them on Facebook or whatever. The people that do their jobs right are working alongside the police. They're
Mhm.
helping the police put these people behind bars rather than the possibility of them getting off on a technicality or whatever. So I
Yeah,
just personally, from a personal point of view, I can't watch them because it just repulses me like it would with any average human being. So I can't actually watch them. But I think, unfortunately, in this day and age, they serve a purpose. They're there to protect our children at the end of the day. So
they do.
if it's done correctly.
Yeah, the
So
police can only do so much, and you know, in the film again, we want to portray the hunters in a good light, especially the
yeah,
police. Well, they work with each other, and
yeah,
if you're doing it in a non-violent way, yeah, it helps the police a ton, because you'll get people that say, "Oh, why don't the police do it?" and things like that, but they're also busy as well. So
yeah.
it's like, we wanted in the film the hunters to work with the police, and both of them be.
Because let's not make any mistake. I mean, the children that are being preyed upon, the predators are up to date with their technology as well. They know all the different loopholes and ways to get around it all as well. So the police and etc. have got their work cut out to try and police the internet. It's a massive open space, really, isn't it?
hmm And I think as well, with the amount of people that have phones and things now, the police force, obviously they can do an amazing job, but it's a case of there may be such an amount of people online they can't monitor everybody. So
Yeah,
it's good with these hunter groups that do reasonably, you know, help bring these people to light and things like that. But going into that, eventually when you get through the film, so Lucy goes through this journey, and obviously there's the grooming aspect of it as well. That the film really, it does a great job at keeping you You
There's
get
reasons for her being groomed in the first place that we never actually really touched on. Like her parents were going through a divorce or separation, weren't they? And alcohol was involved. Or Lucy's mum, Lucinda, was drinking, etc.
yeah, and there's a way of. I mean, it's going to be one of the things for people. I'm really excited to see what people's opinions are in the film when it comes out because again, it's going back to it's in that grey area, and it's for Lucy's mum, for example, into the alcohol thing. She's gone through this tough breakup, and she's relying on the alcohol, and it creates this sense of ignorance, whether she sees it as ignorance or not. She doesn't quite understand or fully see the bigger picture of what dangers are posed to Lucy. It kind of goes under her radar. But again,
That's what alcohol or drugs does. It numbs your emotions, your feelings, your the way you look at things, the way you see things, etc. Isn't it?
again, she Lucy's mum is also a victim in the film.
Yeah.
Alcohol abuse. Everybody. I mean, that is what the ultimate goal for me was going into it. Was I wanted to bring the human out in everybody. I didn't want that. Like going back to like what you were saying about a lot of films don't do it. They sugarcoat things, but I hate this idea that a film paints someone out as bad and then someone as good. It's too simple. Real
It
life,
is too simple.
it's not like that whatsoever. You've got people struggling that come from certain backgrounds that obviously it's influenced them, and then obviously what they fall into, whether it be drugs, alcohol. There's so much to that one person's story that you can't just say, oh yeah, a bad person that is. Like I was going into the film making it, and that was one of my biggest goals. Um, and yeah, like there'll be opinions on characters when the film comes out as to what people think of them, but I've got my own thoughts. And again, it's just for me being director, it's touching into the human of everybody. That was the biggest.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
yeah,
I believe there's subliminal messages within the film for parents and guardians to educate their kids. Can you tell us any more about that? The sort of messages throughout the movie?
yeah. So when it comes out, there's the obviously the end scene. It's climactic. It's dramatic. There's a message with the edit. I'm not quite sure how it's going to fit in. I think it'll be towards the end of the film. So when you get to the credits, just before the credits, there'll be a message. There'll be a helpline. There'll be that. But with that message coming up in the film, it's going to correlate to the final scene that the audience is going to see.
And
Uh,
you'll see. I mean, I've not seen it myself, but through when the movie is out, you'll see throughout it the lived experience angle coming shining through. You'll see little subliminal messages that might not pick up at first, and you maybe when you watch it again, you'll see more and more because it is about trying to protect our children at the end of the day. The whole purpose of this movie being made, isn't it?
and it is from Lucy's perspective. The whole film's from her perspective, where people might not be bad people, but the way that the film is, but the goal for me at least was to frame people to show that they're potential dangers, but not that they're bad people. So it's like you're seeing it from Lucy's perspective of it's a big bad world. She doesn't quite understand everybody and the way the world works, but anyone can be a threat. So it's like this looming feeling throughout. It's a gritty film, but it needed to be. I didn't want to
It,
sugarcoat.
no, it
So
definitely needed to be realistic for to give it. Anyway, so the next one I've got, before we go any further on, I wanted to mention about us needing more funds. Our raffle, which includes signed articles, merchandise that have been used in the movie by famous people like Callum Beatty. Can you believe that? Callum Beatty, people like that in the movie. But Callum's got some side items that are on for fundraising at the moment for raffle prizes, etc. Could you tell us a little bit about who else and what else is there?
So there's a few well known people. I mean, D Maxwell, the comedian, she's been
Yeah.
in the film. She's done a few scenes. She's got signed things. So like for example, the high vis that she wears in the film, little things like that, which are really cool. That when you go into this raffle, there's a chance you could win these amazing things. I mean, D Maxwell's really talented. I'm yet
And
to go.
it's only £2 a strip, folks. How are you? Where else are you going to win a prize for a movie, a signed piece of D Maxwell memorabilia or Callum Beater memorabilia? I know Callum has also donated his first signed T-shirt, for example. Kerry told me that earlier on today, and I can announce that tonight. So if anybody hasn't joined the Dark Devices film page, please go over and give it a follow just now. And if you can donate even a few pound, honestly, it will go so far, and it will just finish off what's needing to be done, with which Fraser will tell you about now, the costs at the end of the editing, etc. And then we're hoping at the end of that to be able to put on a red carpet event for the children, especially because it would just complete the whole experience for them, Fraser, wouldn't it? I mean, to be in a movie is like a dream anyway, for not just the children, for 60 odd adult actors as well, myself included. I remember being on set, standing, I'll not give too much away, standing at the bar with yourself in a scene,
Oh yeah,
and
a little scene.
Mr. Yeah, Mr. Callum beat you over one shoulder. I'm like, what is happening here? Is that like, wake? I felt like saying to you, Fraser, go and give me a slap, wake me up. But it was crazy. And then another scene, I'll not give too much away. Didn't panic, Kerry. I know you will be, but we're doing a recovery meeting, and I was the first to open up with the lines, and they shouted action, and my mind went completely blank. And I don't know if Kerry remembers, but I looked over to Kerry in panic, and she's like, "Just calm down, it's okay." And then they went action again, and from then on, I rattled it off about 30 or 40 times, But oh, honestly, my nerves were so bad that day. But thankfully, I got through. But it was honestly, it's such an amazing thing to be a part of. I still can't believe that I've been in a movie myself, Fraser. It's still sinking in. I think once we see it on the big screen, then that'll help reinforce it. But could you tell us about the funding that's been needed throughout, and what we're needing to still fundraise for?
Yeah, so we've done production, pre-production, all of that is finished. We've got a reshoot to do, which is next Tuesday, actually, on the 11th. So after that, we're looking at complete production. But there's a lot of funds still to be raised for post-production. That's the final push, but it's also one of the biggest, because it's where you're trying to get the edit together. You've got the color grading, you've got so much that still has to go into the film. And then, like you were saying, well, there about the red carpet, that's a big thing that we're pushing for with the kids and adults, especially. It's something that we can all do, and see the hard work that we've all put in, and it'll make the kids and adults nights. I know for me it'll make my night too, because it's one of the first nights I'll be getting glammed up, which is rare for me.
Well, it'll be one of the first nights for me in a long time, I'll tell you that, if we do get the go ahead. But it would really be appreciated to the viewers at home, just even if you can donate a few pound, go over to the Dark Devices page.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, StreamYard's not letting me put up any comments, or I'd put the GoFundMe link up. But I'm hoping, Kerry, that you're on the ball and being admin for me tonight, and that you put the GoFundMe link up in the comments. And please go over and give us a donation if you can. It's only by the the lovely folk that have donated so far, and all the people that have appeared in the movie, that all the actors, the extras, the crew, everybody else behind the scenes, asking people to donate. And we've got donations that are live at the moment. There's perks, for example. You can donate, you can sponsor a cast member, for example, Fraser. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah. So there's been a lot of local companies as well that have been sponsoring the performers in the film. And you've got your different clothing brands. I know for Daniel Kawar that's in the film, a clothing line or brand sponsored him. It's different things like that. Hairdressers. I know that there was a barber that sponsored our actor James. So there's
And
different.
so, what do you get for your £150 if you were to sponsor it, as you as a business, if you could sponsor one of the actors in the Dark Devices movie?
So a big thing for local companies and any company is that when you donate to the film, in the end credits, that's a big part of the promotion. It's promotion for the business, it's promotion for yourself, and it's a way of saying thanks to everybody that funded the project, because if it wasn't for any of those funders, the film wouldn't have been made. So that's just a little bit of gratitude we have for everybody. So if a
And you
company,
get 2 tickets to the premiere, I believe, as well, don't you?
yeah, you get tickets to premiere. You get, if you sponsor the cast, that's self advertising for your company. So it's a win-win. You'll be in the film at the end credits, but you'll also, you'll be bringing light to your company, and people that watch the film, the audience might take interest in, okay, what's that brand, and let's go and have a look at that.
Exactly, that's how it works, isn't it? And for only such a little amount, then that's going to be on the movie forevermore. You're going to be in the end credits forevermore. You get 2 tickets to the premiere. I mean, it is an amazing opportunity. What I like about the the fundraising process in this case was you always get something for the fundraising. It's not just please donate.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's fair enough. If you need to raise funds, you need to raise funds. But with Kerry, there's always a prize, there's always a raffle. Or if it's a football card, for example, it's 50-50. The winner gets half of it, the half of it goes to Dark Devices, because there's an awful lot of expense in making movies. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even begin to know the expense of that. But I know, for example, Kerry's put her own personal money into this movie, almost like a lot of money into the making of this movie, for example, as well as the fundraising as well, eh?
Yeah, especially for that one day that we've got to reshoot next week. It was, I mean, a lot of it was out of Kerry's pocket as well, and
Oh, right.
she's put in again the work, the everything they've put in. It's just, you know, if you're supporting by, I mean, entering the raffle, for example, going back to the prizes. I mean, winning some signed items from the film. That's really cool. That is a really cool thing. And Callum Beattie, you know, he's
Mate, I want Callum Beattie's t-shirt.
yeah, I want Callum Beattie's t-shirt as
I think
well.
I've got a man crush on. I shouldn't say that on a live. I've not got a man crush. Callum, have you seen that? I never said that. That was just a negative thought in my head. Nah, but honestly, he's such a down to earth guy, isn't he? You met him on set, and his
Yeah,
manager Dave. Dave's more my age, you know what I mean. So he's more like my experience level. So you know what I mean. They're such down to earth guys that put themselves out like with all the things they've done for the movie, appearing in the movie. None of these actors are getting paid for it as such, are they? I mean, it's all of their own
very,
time and.
it is. It's very minimal. It's just again the amount of people work have put, like the amount of work people have put in to make this. It's out of pure passion. At the end of the day, and me for especially for me. I mean, I would have done this film for nothing, no pay at all. I would have
Yeah.
just. It was that good of a script. It's got that many messages in it, and it's going to resonate with that many people. Like what we spoke about last night a little bit was it's a film that has global messages in it. I mean, it's something that people across the world can relate to, whether it's, again, you know, like touch base on the mental health, all these different aspects. It's something that everybody can relate to in some way or another. So when the film does come out, or if it's when it's going to the festivals and things, I think it's going to do really well. And again, I'm just proud of everybody that's involved, and hopefully the work I've done on it is enough to show, you know, the passion that everyone's put in and capture these people's stories. That's so important.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. So when are we talking about roughly? We're hoping that the movie is going to be out for
Oh, good
being
question.
released. I know, way I put you on the spot, Fraser.
It's looking like, so for the premiere, when it's said and done, we've got the edits going to Michael, who's a talented editor. He's editing it till March time. We've given him a March rough deadline. After that's to go to the composer, because what we wanted to do, there's two ways of doing it for the music of a film. So you've got the music already set that you end up putting onto the film, or you make the film around the music, or you can
Hmm.
make the music around the film. So with it going to the composer and say March time, we want to really fit the music around the film, because at its core, the scenes and the characters and these real life experiences in the film, that's the spine of the film. And then we want to add around it. We've got the music. I think it's going to take about maybe a couple of months for the
Hmm.
music. After that, I think it's looking like a
Well,
June.
see, we need to learn that patience thing, don't we? So I mean, we're experts at that by now, Fraser. Me especially with my age, but you know what I mean. We need to learn that patience. Excuse me, that's for sure. Eh? What else was I going to say there? So. Oh, my mind's went totally blank there, Fraser. I'll just like to read out a couple of comments for people. Melanie Stewart would like to say big thank you to Kevin McAndrew, my brother, for sponsors of our girls in the movie. And it's vital. That's what I was going to touch on. We've got Saskia Eng, who I did a podcast with before, who's singing the theme song for the movie. Now, I haven't even heard this yet. Kerry won't let me hear it. I suppose you've heard it, Fraser, eh?
I've heard it a couple of times.
Yeah, you've heard it. Yeah, I thought so, but never mind. You're higher up that ladder than me. Eh? I'm only kidding. But yeah, I can't wait, mate. Honestly, it's so exciting to have already been involved in it as one experience as it is. But I didn't know. I don't think it'll fully sink in until it comes out. And
Mhm.
like just to let you understand from my lived experience type of angle, for coming from the background that I did for addiction, 27 long years, and before that, adverse childhood experiences, mental health, all of that type of stuff. When I got myself into recovery in March 2020, right before lockdown, I never, ever, ever dreamed I would appear in a movie. Never could I even imagined that. Never mind meeting lovely folk like Kerry, yourself, all the other actors and actresses that I've met along the way as well. People like Callum Beattie, and especially. But can I just say a heartfelt thank you so much to Kerry personally and to Sophie, young Sophie as well, for asking me and my daughter Amy to appear in this movie, because that's something that I'll always be proud of and I'll always talk about dark devices fondly when I talk about it into my 70s and 80s, hopefully. But I just wanted to take that opportunity to say thank you to Kerry so much for giving everybody the opportunity, I suppose. Yeah, everybody will thank her individually, but there's so many people watching tonight. There's so many people involved. And it's just that there's more in that. It's people's families. These children's families are all involved in it. They're part of that dream as well. And to make so many people's dreams come true, that's a special thing to do. And it's Kerry doesn't like taking praise, but she doesn't get enough of it because her and Sophie are amazing people, and I just value her friendship and thank you again for letting me appear in the Dark Devices movie.
Yeah,
But
we've
aye, so
all got a lot to thank for with Kerry and Sophie. I mean, for me, I'm so grateful again that I've got this thing where I'm starting to, like, we spoke a little bit about this last night. I've got a thing where I've always got to be working and I've always got to be doing something and I've got to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. But recently I've just sat back and I've thought to myself, like, how lucky I actually am to have done what I've done in the space of a year, and Kerry reaching out to me, and I'll forever be thankful, and the fact that she trusted me with such a story, with everyone's stories in it, and a lot of these characters, the characters are based on real people, so it's bringing all these people's stories to life into the film, and it's amazing. Like, the last few days, especially, it's starting to sink in a little bit how much, she trusted me to do this, and hopefully again, I've made something special that everyone
oh,
can.
you have, Fraser. You definitely have that. I mean, I remember meeting you first day on set, and to be honest, I didn't know you beforehand, so I didn't know you were co-director. I just thought you were an extra, like myself. Not just, but an extra, because extras are important, you know. But
Mhm.
anyway, I thought you were an extra because not because any reason, but you were so very down to earth. You're just like us. You're just like myself. Whether you have that lived experience of that or not, it's
Mhm.
about empathy. It's about the type of person you are, and if you
Yeah,
can relate to people on any kind of level, that's what I mean. In my recovery, I can relate to it with the peer support group, for example. I've got people with different walks of life, different backgrounds, different jobs, different experiences, even. But I can relate to them all because we all share similar experiences, whether it be in addiction or mental health. But overall, we're just human beings and we're all trying to help each other out, eh? And the
yeah,
Dark Devices family is exactly that. It's been a family from start to finish. And what I love about the movie in particular is Kerry stayed true to being a community based film,
oh
a
yeah,
Scottish community based film. For day one, she's stuck to her guns about that and seen it all the way through with all the range of people that we've discussed and more probably that we've not. Besides, could you give a few shout outs to the some of the background guys, to the sound crew, to the lighting, all that type of thing, please? Because I can't
oh,
remember all their names. Eh?
definitely. You've got Daniel Senior and Rowan. Rowan, they were absolutely fantastic as sound guys. They were there every day. As soon as they were hired, they were there every day. And like Daniel Franklin, Peter Johnston. Peter Johnston was the first AC. Daniel Franklin was the DOP, director of photography. And I mean, it got to some days where, especially in Block Two, the final days, the big scenes, the argument scenes, the drama, would end up staying like 2 to 3 hours extra than what the call time was. And I'd said to them, I was like, "Are you guys okay to just stay?" And they were so committed and they were so happy to just do that. And
Can I ask, Fraser, because of this movie's background, in particular the lived experience angle and the actors and actresses in it with lived experience, you as a crew, Daniel and the rest of the guys you just mentioned there, did that mean that you became more open about talking about whatever you went through? Did it make you bond quicker? Do you think because you were working long days and all kinds of weather and everything? So
in ways, it did, because there's some scenes in the film that when the audience watch it, they'll understand as well. But there was some scenes that you're watching these actors open up completely, and it gets you talking. And even on lunch breaks and things, you're reminiscing about that scene that you just watched being performed in front of you. And yeah, it gets people talking. I mean, within a couple of days, I'd never met Daniel Franklin. I'd never met the sound crew, the clapper, the lighting. I've never met any of them before.
do you know
But
who
we,
I felt really sorry for? The guy that is it Chris? I'm not sure. That's got the big sound thing that was it was above his head the whole day.
yeah,
Oh, I'm like, wow, just as well he was young like yourself, but I'm like, how can he hold that there all day? It must have been an agony, cramping in the arms and everything.
Yeah, I can only imagine it must add up day after day having to do the same thing. I mean, there's like sometimes as well going to those dramatic scenes. We had a scene in the house at one point in the film. Again, not giving too much away, but there's an argument and there's a bit of a scrap in the hallway. And so Daniel, for example, and the sound crew, they had to they hold the camera and walk with them and then backwards
Mhm.
again. And it's quite a simple movement, but the camera's that heavy and the boom pole can be quite taxing that they ended up getting really sore from it, so we had to stop, obviously. But as director, it's trying to find that balance. You're working under stress in that regard. I don't want the guys to get stressed and get sore, but
Yeah.
at the time, instead of like I don't know, like for you, well as well on set, you watched where director calls cut and then you'll reset everything, you'll do it again. When it comes to like argument scenes in the hallway scene, for example, that scrap and that heated moment, for me, instead of saying cut, because sometimes I feel like it ruins the tension, I'll
Yeah.
say set. So what that means is basically everything stays rolling. They go back to position and they do it again and again, and it builds intensity, and then you end up getting that big spark, that boom, that scene you really want.
The build up of the passion. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just trying to keep in mind, okay, this I don't want to push the crew too much here because I know how taxing it is.
And how is that? How is it to? How easy or hard is it to manage any given crew, not just Dark Devices? If you're a director, but you've got all different people on set, needed
Mm.
silence. You may be filming in places like with Dark Devices. We were in the Whale Art Centre in Wester Hales, for example, which people use. There's people going about the little bits and pieces of noise. How are you with dealing with people on set?
I like to think I'm pretty good.
Yeah, you are. But I'm just meaning,
So
how do you find that yourself, like with all the different characters, etc.?
it can be stressful because it's a case of at least directing. It's the first AD, their job as well. So the first assistant director, their job is to stick with a shooting schedule to keep people focused.
Hmm.
Director has to do that as well. So it's a walking a tightrope for me. I'm trying to not ruin the mood and demotivate people by being too serious and too strict. I don't want people to be like, "Oh, here comes the director."
Hmm.
I want
Yeah,
people
aye.
active. So it's trying to balance, having a laugh and then getting on with it at the same time. And again, it depends on the scene that you're shooting. If it's a really raw emotional scene, people tend to come in and they don't mess about because they know what kind of scene it is. But again, it can be tricky because you want to keep people motivated. That's another big thing directing that I'm still learning. Like when I first started, I thought, yeah, directors show up and they do what they want with the scene. They direct performers, but it's also about keeping the mood and keeping people going,
There's a
which is
lot more to it, isn't there?
that's the tricky part. But it's something I'm still learning. And Dark
And it
Device.
must have been difficult with Dark Devices because with filming we had over 60 children, and keeping children for 8, 10 hours a day and
Uh-huh.
trying to keep them quiet and keep them and happy and all with that type of that must have been difficult at times as well. Especially I remember one day in the middle of Edinburgh somewhere, I can't remember exactly where, Wester Hill somewhere, pouring down with rain at this park. I'll not go into too much detail. And the kids were in a wee a tent thing, a wee thing. But honestly, how do you keep them happy for all day without them tantrums and all that type of thing?
It's tricky. I'd never worked with kids before until Dark Devices, so that was a big learning thing for me. I remember you saying about Whale Arts there. I walked in one day, saw about 40 of them. I'm like, what do I do?
Never work with children and animals, they say, don't they?
That's what
But
they said.
honestly, I must admit, I remember standing back and watching the wee Sophie. She would go around all the children and even if she didn't know them, she'd try and make sure they were okay and
Mhm.
and they weren't nervous and all like that. And that's brilliant to see as well, eh? I mean, and somebody so young, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
she was amazing.
And
It,
Kerry obviously was the mother of the group, obviously taking care of everybody and
yeah,
all of that,
and that
panicking about
that's what's
every
important.
detail.
Yeah, that's what's important about the directing. It's keeping people motivated and it's being able to have a laugh. See, especially with the kids, you want to, because their energy levels can just drop like that. So you want to like you want to be like I tried to play it being funny and things like that because I've got a stupid sense of humor, so it lands with kids quite a lot because I love SpongeBob and all that stuff, which we
Oh
spoke
well.
a lot about on set. And there's like things like that, keeping them motivated. There was some days where like you'll like people that haven't been into film before, you think it's glamorous, but it can be such a long day of setting up and 14 hours of setting the
Can be a
camera.
lot of waiting about, can't there?
Yeah, I remember one day in the cafe scene, Bless, one of the wee guys in the film. He was so excited to be there in the morning, running about 2 hours in. He was like, I want to go home. So eventually we let him go. But like it's a thing I'm still learning. It's trying to keep people happy, motivated, but then get the job done as well. So
I'll
yeah,
just put a wee comment in for Kerry there that I've just noticed on my phone. You have been brilliant, Fraser. You've been amazing and standing with me in post production, doing extra work. I mean, because there is like well, I know we've said it, but there's an awful lot of work goes on that you don't see on a
yeah, yeah.
if you start to finish the film. So are you still working on behind the scenes then on the finishing product, obviously with Kerry and Jay?
We're doing things here and there where we're wanting to. So you've got to be careful as well about post production of keeping people enticed because it can be quite a long time from finishing the film to it coming out. So people can tend to not lose interest, but get a bit impatient or a bit bored or
Uh-huh.
waiting on. So it's trying to balance out with the BTS pictures, for example. Me and Kev have been trying to space it out. So every week or so, we'll put
Hmm.
something else out, keep people intrigued. But we're at the minute talking about a trailer for the film. So we want to get a trailer out by hopefully the end of the year.
That
And
would be
then
brilliant.
be about the mid, like again, I think it's June, July we're looking at for the premiere. June, July,
Hmm.
August time. So we can get the trailer out, say the end of this year, show people a sneak peek of what it's going to be like, and it'll get people talking, keep people like excited again. We might release something else down the line. It could be we do a teaser trailer in December, and then by February March we'll have a full trailer. So it could be that.
Yeah,
So
because it is a long process from start to finish. In some cases, I mean, it's been a good 18 months, 2 years now, is it? Roughly
for the
about that period. So it is. It's about keeping the interest going, isn't it?
yeah,
And that's why it's so vital that these fundraising efforts. I'll say it again. Please go over to the GoFundMe if you can today. Even the price of a coffee to help us out to get the finishing touches for this movie and to also provide a premiere, a red carpet event for the children, especially because they
yeah,
certainly deserve it. And just to get this movie over the line because it's such a worthwhile cause, a worthwhile movie that needs to be made, it needs to be shown. But we still need that extra bit of funding. So we do appreciate all of your support. And if you could just extend that a little bit further and donate a little bit more, then we'd really appreciate it. So,
yeah.
Kerry, you're not Kerry, you're Fraser. Sorry about that, mate. I'm reading Kerry's comment. She's put the link to the GoFundMe in the comments. There is what I was trying to say, Fraser. So, what's next for you then, Fraser? What's next,
So
acting wise or even directing wise?
at the minute, I've just finished, nearly finished up on a short film I'm doing, Strawberry Milkshake. I said a little bit about that to you
Yeah, I
yesterday.
seen that. Tell us a little bit about that because I've seen that on Facebook as well.
So where Dark Devices delves into the addiction and those plot points and character stories and things like that, where Strawberry Milkshake comes in is so I wrote it and it's my sort of twist on like the story of addiction because we've all got addictions. I mean,
Yep.
we're all struggling with things. I mean, for me, I'm a big pleasure seeker, so I've got to do extreme things to get a thrill out of something, whether it be like
Hmm.
skydiving. Drink for me is a big thing as well. Like if I go out, I can go a bit too much,
Yeah.
things like that. So I am a bit of a thrill seeker, and that's what Strawberry Milkshake's about. It's a very metaphorical, twisted sort of like reality in a way because this milk, strawberry milk, is actually in the film and it represents pleasure in a bottle. So it's
All
about
right.
are determined to get a hold of it and whether it like down it and all this stuff and
And some of the actors and actresses for Dark Devices also appear in Strawberry Milkshake, don't they?
Robert's the lead, so he's playing John Doe in the film, and he plays an interesting character because it plays this twist on John Doe is the name that they give to dead bodies that they can't identify. So
Yeah.
in the film, Robert's character, he's down this path of, so he plays a male nymphomaniac, so he's a sex addict. He goes out to get action
It's
at
real,
point.
but it's true. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It is.
yeah, and he brings such a reality to it, which is amazing because it's such an abstract film. Like it's a bit like might
And
I
the
play.
music, tell us a little bit. The music's like in the background. It's set a sort of 80s feel anyway, isn't it?
It's got like that. Like that 80s synth
Yeah.
that was popular with David Bowie, Michael Jackson. You've got elements of the
Dog
weekend.
Ballet, Pet Shop
Yeah.
Boys, all that type of era.
Uh huh. So it's
That
about
was mad. That was my decade, mate. That's how old I am.
No, but that's the decade though. Like some of the heaviest hitting music comes from then. So you know,
I don't know
but
about the makeup so much, but yeah, maybe the music. But
yeah,
that's exactly when I seen the clip on Facebook. That's the vibe I got from it, just through the music alone and the makeup, etc. Because I know a friend of mine who's worked on the Strawberry Milkshake movie with yourself as makeup artist. Do you want to give her a little shout out?
oh,
And
Evelyn, brilliant.
yeah, and she done the makeup with yourself. I didn't even know it was you at first when I seen it on the Facebook post. I'm like, oh, that's Fraser. And
It was,
then Robert, and then oh wow, this looks good. So when
it
is
was
that out then?
so. Oh, that is out. We're doing a festival run with it, so it might be like early 2024. It could be a wee bit away.
Is
Um,
Dark Devices going in at any festival? Sorry, I know it was. Has it been entered in any? I
I
think
think
it
it has.
has, isn't it?
I think
Sorry, Kerry, you need to tell us.
she's done script. I think she's entered the script into a few, and then I think the
Mhm.
film going to a few festivals as well. I think that's the plan. But the
That
thing
better
with
not delay the opening for us now.
oh, I know we're gagging on this opening.
Oh, we are in half, man. I've been telling everybody that wants to listen about Dark Devices. I'm in that movie, you know. But never mind.
I
My
cannot wait.
support group's getting fed up hearing me talking about it. I'm only kidding.
No, it's a big deal. It is a big deal, and I don't think we could talk about it enough. I think it's
No,
just
you're right.
it's such a inspiring story out of
I mean,
the
some of the stats behind it, off the top of my head, in particular, is 67% of the population have suffered at least one adverse childhood experience, and that's
Mhm,
at least one trauma in their life. More often than not, people have suffered more than the one adverse childhood experiences. And when we talk about ACEs, we talk about things from child abuse to physical, mental, and sexual abuse of a child. We also talk about parents splitting up,
mhm,
parents being lost in addiction, going to prison. There's so much to this. There's so much trauma that people can unfortunately go through, and it's the impacts that trauma has on that person throughout the course of their life. And I can only again talk about my lived experiences, but the impact of trauma such as them on me led to me a 27-year addiction to drugs, which thankfully, I mean, I'm only one of the 2% that actually is lucky enough to escape addiction, and that's exactly why I do what I do, Fraser. Because not
mhm,
enough people talk about the subjects that we've covered tonight in the Dark Devices movie, for example. Addiction, in particular, in my case, mental health, none of them are talked about enough. And if we hope to try and break the stigma surrounding all of these subjects, then we need to talk about them. We need
mhm,
movies like Dark Devices that are putting it out there for people to see on mainstream media, don't we?
mhm. Yeah, and that's a big thing, especially today. It's okay to be vulnerable. A lot of people feel that they've got to bottle things up, and it's such a it's a simple saying, but it's effective and it's true. If you speak to people, it gets that weight off your chest. If you keep it bottled up, it's just gonna build and build until it explodes. You've got to talk to people, and
Definitely. I mean,
that as well in the film. We do delve into childhood trauma, and there's a lot of touchy scenes in there, and we're so thankful to have the cast that we had bring it to life. And I
and
mean,
I think that's what makes a movie even extra special if it needed it on top, but that lived experience angle that whatever the theme of the movie and all the individual scenes, there's
mhm,
the experience behind that.
yeah,
There's the actual real life experience behind all of these scenes, which gives it even more power.
yeah, because a lot of films there is drama in Dark Devices, but it works with the story and what the characters are going through. It's a very grounded, gritty take on it. And going back to a lot of films, dramatize things. They make it big and they focus on the bigger things rather than the smaller things. But with what's special about Dark Devices is you'll get scenes where you're talking about childhood trauma and the scenes we shot it pinpoints that exact thing and just dives into that in the whole scene. So it takes you into the character's mind.
Teach you right into it, yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's just the cast we've had. We're so lucky to have involved who we have because, like we're going back to talking about an actor's job, for example, is to open up. And when you've got those lived experiences in there that you can present to the screen, it makes it that much better. It really does. It tells the story that much more and it sheds so much more light on it. Um, yeah,
I
so there's
honestly can't wait for it to be released, honestly.
and then touching on talking about Saskia as well. That's singing the theme to the movie.
What a voice.
Her voice fits so well with the film and the tone that we've set up. She's got such a unique voice that it's a weird thing because Kerry let me have a wee sneak peek of the theme of the film.
Oh, see, aye, you have to be privileged to see. Only kidding.
Yeah, you know, like before I even listened to the song, I had an idea of how the film would sound as a song. And playing Saska's song, it just captured every element of that. And it actually, without even seeing it on the film, it made me tear up. And I
You
just
see,
know that.
you missed Saskia live at the fundraising night. Unfortunately, you couldn't make it,
Oh,
obviously,
I
but
know. I would have loved to have.
wow, so powerful, Fraser. Honestly, unbelievable for somebody so young again, eh? But what a
What age
voice!
is she? Like
I think
early
she's only 19,
night.
20, something like
That
that. Yeah.
that's
So, well,
amazing.
I think maybe 2021 right now, right enough, but I don't know. But I round about that, but still, what a voice for. I mean, Saskia, going back to her podcast, she's been busking for knee high for 7, 8 year olds. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
obviously gained a confidence with that, with her own performance and things like that. But what a voice! Can't
she's
wait. I've never heard the song, so I can't wait.
yeah, she's got a future ahead of her definitely. And with you'll not have seen the scene, but the scenes that we shot and what's looking like the song's going to line up with in the edit, what's going to be played over, it's
Hmm.
it's going to hit home for a lot of people, and it's it even made me tear up. And I've not, we've been touching on these different subjects, and I deal with anxiety and. I've got not diagnosed, but I do go through phases of, like depression, and I struggle
Yeah,
with medication and things like that. But I've not been through some of the things others have, but I've been around people that have. So
exactly. Yeah.
it really helped me bring the story that bit more to life from my understanding of what it's like. But yeah, yeah, and Saskia, she's just she's amazing, and I can't wait for you to listen to the song and see it in the edit and it to actually come out.
Yeah, it's going to be good. So good, mate. Well, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank you personally, Fraser, for coming on tonight to the podcast and letting us know a little bit more about a lot more about Dark Devices and your role in it and how it all got put together and that. Is there anything else you would like to say to the viewers before we finish up for the night?
Just again that whole that the support. I mean, we've had a crazy amount of support for getting this film made, but again, we need that final push to get the film finished. I mean, if you're breaking down post production of a film, you've got your color grading, your sound, you've got your music mix, you've got your VFX. That means any effects in it, which some scenes rely on that. Just breaking down post production alone in the edit, there's a lot to still you know
There's a lot for it to bring together, isn't it? To be
Oh
make a
yeah.
movie, there so is, and honestly, hats off again, yet again to Kerry and Sophie, but Kerry for all the stuff that she's done from start to finish. Writing it, I'm not saying it's the easy part, but writing it is one thing, but actually turning that into a movie is an entirely different proposition altogether. Eh?
Mhm.
So fair play to Kerry because I know the struggle that's been at times in the background for her personally. So
Mhm.
well done, Kerry, and we're very proud of you as well,
Like,
especially you and Sophie.
both Kerry and Sophie, what they've accomplished is absolutely amazing, and it makes me emotional to think of how much work she's put into the film, and yeah. I'm
And
just
it'll be I've given her 5 years, Fraser, and I've told her we'll be back for Dark Devices too.
Start Devices too. It
But
needs
she's
to
not
happen.
having any of it so far, mate. I maybe need to give her a couple of years to recover from the trauma of making the first one, eh? So,
Oh, the
but
stress of making a film, any film, but this film in particular, dealing with real life people's stories. It's been stress, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I feel so happy with what we've achieved, and me and Kerry had a discussion after filming was finished, and I said to her, she just needs to step back and see how much work she's put in, and how proud. I mean, I'm very proud of everything we've shot, and I know Kerry is as well. And finally seeing it in edit, it's going to be moving. But yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. And the stress is all worth it in the end. It's gonna touch base with a lot of people, and it's a movie with the themes and the story. Again, I'm just so honored to have actually worked on this. It's one of my proudest moments so far.
and
Um,
definitely one of mine as well, mate. And in the short term of 2.5 years of being in recovery, I could never have dreamed of being a part of a movie. So again, thank you so much, Kerry. Kerry says in the comments there, if you like Fraser's production page, that would be great. CSMG Productions.
oh yeah,
Fraser will be bringing more films in the future. Any budding actors, keep an eye out too. So quite right, because I want to thank you again, Fraser, for all your involvement on Kerry's behalf and myself, for your involvement in Dark Devices. You were one of the first I talked to on set, and you made me feel so comfortable right away standing next to you at the bar drinking a fake bottle of beer, but never mind, eh? But honestly, it was just thank you so much, mate. And it's been a pleasure tonight's podcast, and hopefully we'll do more in the future. Anytime you want to talk on, I'd come on another one and talk about other movies because I'm sure you're heading to Hollywood. Never
No,
mind Holyrood. I'll go to Holyrood and I'll deal with MSPs. You go to Hollywood and deal with the actors and actresses. How's that for a deal? But now, honestly, mate, thank you so much for coming along tonight and letting us know a little bit more about yourself and the movie. It's really
it's
appreciated.
been a pleasure, and this is my first podcast, so
That's it. Your very first podcast.
very first podcast.
Wow.
We've done me and Jay Alexander Ali, the other director for
Yeah.
that device. We've done a snippet for BBC Radio, which is it was a weird new experience. But yeah, this is my first podcast, so it's
Oh
just
well, mate. You could never have told. You've done brilliant. So thank you
uh,
so much for
absolute.
trusting me to interview you. It's been a pleasure.
No, it's been a pleasure on my behalf. And again, going back to like with your podcast and everything you've done and getting people to open up, there's no better podcast I'd rather have started on. It's a pleasure for me to be here, and for you, well, everything you've accomplished, I get you as well should be so proud. And I've watched a couple of podcasts now, especially the one with Robert, and it's a great thing you're doing, and you're talking about obviously what you went through, but you came out the other end to do this, which is a purpose that's greater than any other, surely.
Thank you, mate. I so appreciate that, to be honest. I mean, like I've said often enough, I didn't think I'd envision myself doing podcasts and running support groups, but I just like to show that what is possible for anybody out there, no matter what your background is, no matter what your lived experience is, if you've had addiction issues, mental health issues, no matter whatever it is you've been through in life, it's never ever too late to turn that around. If you want it enough, if you put in the effort, then anything is possible in life. And that's the biggest message I can give to anybody, whether it be in the support group or anybody that watches any of the podcasts, is that it's never too late. I was 49 before I got into recovery, and only 2.5 years later, I'm here talking to lovely folk like yourself and appearing in movies and in books and things like that. It is crazy when I think about it. We were talking about it a little bit last night. When I think about all the things I've done and doing at the moment, but I'm enjoying every single minute. And what helps me is because I get to speak to people like yourself or people with lived experience who have been through such traumatic events or through some so long addictions, get the peace and the freedom for coming through the other side of that and opening up and releasing the fear and the anxiety and all of that they've held on for some of them throughout their entire lives. I've got people, obviously no names, that have been held in trauma from their childhood right through to 70-year-old, and they've held that in, and that's not healthy. That you know that yourself. So, as with a lot of things, the best way to deal with that is by talking. And what better way to talk than on a podcast? I wouldn't suggest that for everybody, but you know what I mean. Opening up and talking really does help, doesn't it?
It does, especially like for yourself, Will, as well. You're very, I find it so easy to talk to you because, again, going back, I do have social anxiety, but you just bring such a comfort. I mean, for this
Oh,
podcast,
thank you, mate.
that I've just felt completely relaxed because I can be like a deer in the headlights a bit.
Oh,
But
mate, I get nervous as well. Still, believe it or not, I do get nervous before, especially this podcast, because I know I had to be 100% on my toes with Kerry in the comments looking at us, and
looking for that laser on your head.
yeah, I'm like, remember and ask that, or nah, I'm only kidding. Kerry, honestly, is such a good friend of mine in the last 2.5 years, and it's honestly, I'm so um proud of everything she's achieved and everybody in the Dark Devices movie because we are that family, aren't we?
It
Literally,
feels
that
like
online family, that movie family.
it does. It feels like a family. There's some projects I've done where like, everyone feels like a stranger, but with this, everyone's just we've all had conversations with each other on and off set about our own lives and things like that. And like going back to what you were saying before about talking to people with like lived experiences and then going into the film and how that impacts you. It's everyone again. It's just it brings you like this family vibe that we came at the other end with. I mean, like everybody on it, I'd count as a friend at this point.
You've
Everyone,
always got to have hope, Fraser. Never give up hope because
uh,
as long as we've got hope, anything is possible. If you
exactly.
never give up hope, then anything is possible. Well, Fraser, just before we go, I want to give another shout out for podcast number 2 in this triple bill from Dark Devices, which is next Thursday evening with Chris Moffat, who was an online hunter, I believe, in the movie Dark Devices. Is that right?
Yes, so Chris, he played one of the hunters. Played him absolutely brilliantly. He's one of the most likable characters in the film, and he plays a very funny character, but he brings that seriousness when
Mm-hmm.
so he's a very interesting guy. Very.
Well, I'm so looking forward to that. I know as well. I don't think if I met Chris or not. I probably have. There was that many people on set, but I'm really looking forward to that next week. But yeah, again, Fraser, thank you so much for coming on tonight. And if there's nothing else you want to say, I'll just finish it off like I normally would in my group or any other podcast, by saying it's okay not to be okay. But as Fraser and myself say, definitely more than that. Speak out. Don't check out, folks. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and see you next week at podcast number 2.
Thank you, everybody.